Hi guys, it's Kirsty. Today's video is about hurdles to OCD recovery. So talking through some of the hurdles we may come across in our journey. But before I go into that, I would like to ask, please do subscribe by clicking on the subscribe button below in order to stay up to date with new videos as they're released. So the first hurdle I'd like to discuss is when we perhaps find ourselves with seeking treatment from someone or working with someone for treatment, for therapy, who doesn't truly understand OCD. So this person may be very, very well qualified to treat a number of different mental health conditions, but they just might not fully understand OCD in all of its intricacies and complications, I suppose, in some ways, and the many different shapes, sizes and forms of it. Or perhaps they don't have experience of treating OCD. So when you find yourself in that position, you might find yourself slightly limited as to how recovered you can get, because you might not be working on exposures with that person, and that person may accidentally, well-meaningly, be inadvertently providing reassurance repeatedly, which obviously will, could become a problem when you're trying to come out of the OCD cycle. You don't want to be fueling it. So you might find yourself spending quite a lot of time working really, really hard on recovery, but maybe not quite going in quite the right direction. So in order to avoid this situation, it is recommended that before you start working with a therapist or coach or anyone like that to work with you on your OCD recovery journey, you want to be ensuring that they fully do understand OCD. You don't want to be the one educating them. You need them to be helping to educate you on what you're dealing with. You need them to really understand it and to be able to work with you on the more appropriate treatment that is required for OCD. So you might also want to ask, about their past experience with dealing with OCD and perhaps their success rate as well. That could be useful, but you don't want to spend lots and lots of money seeking the wrong kind of treatment. Now, another hurdle that we may come across on the journey is in an act of desperation, in big moments of suffering, we are desperately scrambling for quick fixes. So we may not realise, what is necessarily required for recovery at certain points in our journey, and find ourselves spending lots of money on things or time on things that, there's nothing wrong with them, but they're not solely what's required. So I'm talking about things like quick fixes such as, can I go for hypnosis to help relieve me of my OCD? Or can I get acupuncture? That's supposed to help with emotions and releasing tension as well. So maybe that can help relieve some of my OCD symptoms. Or it might be, I'll go for massages all the time and that will help me relax and that will help my OCD. I looked into tapping on certain parts of your body to release emotions and things like that. So basically it's like desperately looking for quick fixes, when in fact, unfortunately, OCD can't be recovered from with a quick fix. It takes time to change, to make the perspective and belief shifts that are required for OCD recovery. Another thing that would be a hurdle to recovery is also to be trying to focus on one particular thing. That would be, for example, I'll just face uncertainty. And focusing on uncertainty is a huge part of OCD recovery. But in order to be able to accept uncertainty, there's work that needs to be done, cognitive work that needs to be done surrounding our irrational beliefs that are fueling the big fear, the big anxiety reactions. And once these are worked on, it helps us to be able to accept the uncertainty. Because although we might be, if we say I'm accepting uncertainty, I'm not going to do compulsions, there might be some rumination that you just can't help going on in the background because you're still terrified of the worst case scenario. Same as with that, there's the mindfulness aspect. So obviously, we hear a lot about mindfulness being really, really great for mental health. And, surely it is. The problem is that it's not necessarily great for everybody. You might have somebody who perhaps has somatic OCD and they're already really focusing on their breathing, for example. And then obviously a big part of, one aspect of practicing mindfulness meditations is, focus on your breathing. So we could find ourselves mistakenly thinking that I'll just meditate my way to OCD recovery. And again, for some people with OCD, incorporating, some mindfulness into our daily our daily lives can be helpful, whether that's spending 5 to 10 minutes meditating or just practicing noticing the way things feel or smell more and being more aware of our surroundings. It's definitely, can be good for some of us. But it would be a mistake to believe that's the only thing that we'd need to do. And that's where it can become a hurdle to recovery, where we start to think, I'll just meditate 10 times a day and that will help me. Unfortunately, there's even more hard work than that. So that could be another hurdle. Again, looking for, you might find yourself, so something else that, that can be very helpful for OCD recovery is diet and exercise. It's really great acts of self-care for yourself, which it kind of pushes back up against OCD. Improving our self-care habits is really useful in our recovery journeys, but it's not enough. So like changing your diet, to be extra clean or something, hoping that it will change the chemicals in our minds or to reduce our obsessions popping up. Unfortunately, although it's a lovely thing to do for ourselves and, working on having a healthy body can surely only help, that alone, again, is not really enough to help. And same with exercising. It's so great for our self-care and for our confidence, but it's not the only thing. And the same goes for supplements as well. It's great to take, if you identify supplements, various ones like, I don't know, I can't remember off the top of my head, but they can be great for our health, but we can't be relying on taking supplements for our OCD recovery. I'm not saying they wouldn't necessarily help. I don't know. I'm not sure about whether things are proven there, but it's not the thing that will get you better. So another thing is, so when you've found a great therapist to work with or a great OCD coach, or if you're just doing self-directed therapy based on a reading list from somewhere, or you're following some guidelines, which involves, doing a reading list and consequently following on from the reading, putting the new learnings into action, so doing practices and activities to help you. So you get to that stage, but then you're kind of making excuses and you can't really be bothered to do it. So this is an issue. If you're not, not following, not doing your reading, basically, is a problem. I did a video previously about, it's for how important it is for us to be taking responsibility for our own recovery journeys. And this is a big part of it. It's even if we're seeing an amazing therapist or OCD coach, if we're not doing the homework that we discuss with them, whether that's the reading, whether that's cognitive, disputing of irrational beliefs, whether that's shame attacking that you might have agreed, or various exposures, or you know, various things like that. If you're not doing it as agreed, then you only have yourself to blame if you're not getting any better. So this is another roadblock. There's no quick fix. There's no easy way. We have to do the hard work, and doing the homework, whether that's, you know, disputing of your irrational beliefs, exposures, all of these things, that is the hard work of it. So on the flip side of not doing your homework and not working hard enough, essentially, is working way too hard. And I, you know, I know that might sound a bit harsh, but it's trying to force recovery, overdoing it. So this could be in the form of, once you get an idea about, you know, disputing, you know, disputing our irrational beliefs, it might be jumping on the thoughts as soon as they come in. Oh, I've got to dispute now. So like that sort of forcing of acceptance. Or it might be wanting to do exposures more than you've been advised to do it, because maybe you've felt some shifts in your OCD, you felt it lifting a little bit, you've had a taste of that, and you want to push it even further. So you want to go even harder, even though that's not necessarily what you've discussed with your therapist or OCD coach, which isn't necessarily the best idea, because once again, it's kind of forcing it. It's being like too desperate to recover. Obviously, you know, we are desperate to recover, but we want to be working on reducing that desperation a little bit by changing our perspective on OCD, because OCD knows that we'd be desperate to recover and would ramp up the heat because it knows that. So it may also be just trying to get our disputing absolutely spot on perfect, or getting our exposures absolutely spot on perfect, which may actually then lead us to not doing any of it at all, because we might then get so frustrated because I can't get it perfect, or I don't want to do it if it's not perfect. So again, that kind of works against us. So you just want to do it, you know. It doesn't have to be perfect every time. If you're having to really overthink it that much and spend that long kind of preparing for these things, and you'll find yourself asking repeated questions, the same questions about it over and over again, you may want to just step back and think, you know, is it because I'm trying to get it perfect, because I'm terrified of, if I don't get it perfect, then I'll never recover, and that would be absolutely awful. So again, we don't want to be approaching it with that view. So another thing that can sometimes keep us a bit stuck is our attitude towards having OCD itself. You know, if we hold strongly to the belief that it's so unfair that we have it and we shouldn't have to deal with it, and it's just awful having OCD, and it basically thinking, I don't deserve this, it's not fair. Unfortunately, this can keep us a little bit stuck sometimes as well, because that very strong resistance and hatred of OCD itself, unfortunately, could be part of what fuels it as well. And on top of that, if we're suffering from OCD and obsessions, and then we're just furious and depressed and raging on top of that, then it's another thing, like it's another set of unpleasant feelings that we're adding to the existing frustration and anxiety that comes with having OCD. So one thing that really, really helps overcome that hurdle is working on a perspective change on OCD, which is hard. And most of us do need to do it, because OCD is really hard. There's a lot of suffering in it. People have lost things because of OCD. So it's incredibly hard not to resent it. But it can really, really be helpful for us if we can work on our perspective about it and reduce that resentment. And then lastly, I just want to mention another hurdle is our perspective about relapses as well. So it's a very common phrase you hear in mental health recovery, that it's not linear, and that is so true, especially, well, I don't know actually if it's especially of OCD, but just for the sake of this video, I'm going to say it is. But it's we can find ourselves having what might feel like a relapse, but or a spike or something after doing well for a while, and it can be very disappointing. And while it's okay to be a bit disappointed with that, I would recommend not spending too much time beating yourself up or freaking yourself out about it, because what really helps is taking a real warrior attitude about it and thinking, okay, I've lost this battle this week, but you know, not the war, and just keep pushing through. Rob from OCD Recovery, when in one of our sessions we spoke about this, and he's spoken about this on his videos as well. A good way to look at it is as if it was a video game and you're working your way through various levels in a video game. So if you're doing a bit better for a while, you know, you found a bit your symptoms lifting a little bit, and then you find yourself having a bit of a spike, that could be the next level of the video game, and you have to up your ante with it. And then you know, then you gain these new kind of weapons and tools and things, and you're ready for then the next level after that. So that's a really good way to approach it. So I hope this video has been useful in terms of just letting you know, from my view, some of the hurdles to OCD recovery. Definitely all of them I've come up against myself, and it's challenging getting past them, but it is possible. And it is a big combination of so many different things that's involved in our OCD recovery as well. You know, to be working on perspectives, to be doing maybe exposures, working on our irrational beliefs, and to be, you know, just taking a look at, you know, a way I've got structure to our day and things like that. You know, it is a juggling act and it's not easy. So if we find ourselves tripping up on one of these hurdles, we don't want to be beating ourselves up. We just want to be picking ourselves up and brushing ourselves off and moving forward as best we can. But thank you ever so much for watching this video, and do take care. Bye.